Hello friends, and welcome to Take Two for this Monday the 13th of May 2019. I'm Jeannie. I'm so glad to be with you. First things first, a very happy birthday. Many blessings to my dear friend and business partner, Big Tom. It's a big one, it's a milestone, and I hope today is a really great day for you. Well, I'd like to share a few thoughts with you this morning about words with multiple meanings. I've just recently been chatting with a friend who lives here in Alabama, but she's originally from Great Britain. And we were talking the other day about how when Michael and I first moved to England and lived there for 3 years, how certain terminology, certain words, certain sayings, even certain inflections of words could mean an entirely different thing. Like, for example, just the way a word is pronounced, like garage or garage, status, status. There's just different words can be pronounced differently, but sayings can mean something completely different as well. And I remember our friends visited us. They were from Texas, and they visited us in England, and we went and picked them up all the way down in London. We were living up in the Midlands, but we had to pick them up down in London at Heathrow Airport. So we stayed a night with a pastor and his wife, who we knew from the Midlands, but they had just recently moved down to take a pastorate down in the London area. So they said, oh, by all means, you and your friends stay the night. We know their plane gets in. It's going to be a long day. So we did, which was a very kind gesture on their part. But when we arrived, it was in a small little village, and we all went to the airport. We picked up Fred and Donna. We got them in the car. We drove, and it was zip, 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 zip. It took a while. Finally, we got to where we were going, and Donna said to the pastor's wife, "My goodness, how do you find this place?" Meaning, this is really a hard place to locate. And the pastor's wife said, "Oh, we found it to be a very lovely place, thank you." She thought she was asking her, how are you enjoying your new surroundings now that you've moved to London? But what Donna was in fact actually asking was, my goodness, this place is off the beaten track. How do you locate it? See, it was two completely different questions, which had two completely different answers. I found something like that happened to me when we first moved to Alabama. Now, Alabama is like a whole nother country when you're comparing it to, say, like living in New York City, for example. And I remember we attended a church service, and while we were there, there was a gal up in the band, and she was singing, and she had a beautiful singing voice. And after she got off the stage and it was over, I said to her, "My goodness, you sing so beautifully." And she said, "I didn't use could." And I said, "Excuse me?" And she said, now imagine, we had just moved here. I wasn't used to any Alabama slang at all. And I said, "Pardon me?" She said, "I didn't used to could." I didn't used to could. I had no idea what this woman was talking about. What she was trying to tell me was that she never could sing well before, and she took singing lessons, and she prayed real hard that the Lord would give her a nice singing voice so she could sing in church, and then after a period of time she was then able to. So before that she didn't used to could. I had never heard that saying before. It's amazing how different things can mean different words can mean different things in different places. Now, if she'd asked me that question, and I said, and I answered her in a typical New York City fashion, I could have said, "Me sing, forget about it." And it might have meant exactly the same thing. "Oh, I didn't know how to sing before, but I could sing now, so forget about it." That's very New York. It's funny, different words for things. Do you know what this is? What is this? This would be a truck, now wouldn't it? But in England, you'd call this a lorry. A lorry. It's like, oh, what? You know, when we first got back from Great Britain after living there for 3 years, I found myself that I had forgotten everyday words for American style of talking about things. Like, for example, I couldn't remember the word wastebasket. I couldn't remember that word. I remember looking down, I said, where's the bin? Where's the little bin? And the person I was working with said, where's the what? I said, the little bin. She said, what are you talking about? So I walked around the office and I picked up this wastebasket. I said, this. She said, you mean the waste paper basket? I said, yeah, waste paper basket. There is a point to all of this, and that is this. Watch what you say, because you never know, you might offend somebody. Back in the day, we did not know some of these words, and they could have been offensive. And likewise, they could have come here from other countries and said things that were offensive as well. I'll tell you one more story before I really make my point, and that is this. There was a pastor from Ohio who had come over to England, and he was on an exchange program with his church, that he went to England for 3 months, and the pastor from this Methodist church in England went to his church in Ohio for 3 months to have a cross-cultural experience. And this pastor from Ohio was quite a portly man, shall we say. He was a good-sized gentleman, and he normally didn't wear belts. He had trouble finding belts that fit him. He did much better wearing suspenders. So he went to the little marketplace because he wanted to buy some new suspenders, and he was shopping around in the little marketplace, and while there he went over to this one stall, and it had all sorts of things. It had underwear and belts and suspenders and all kinds of stuff. And he said to the gentleman who was working at the stall in the open markets, I'd like to buy some suspenders, please. And now you have to understand, suspenders in England means ladies' garter belt. Yeah, that's right. So when this portly man asked this gentleman at the market for a pair of suspenders, he says, oh, are you buying them for your wife? He said, no, they're for me. You can imagine the look on his face, the vendor. So he pointed to the suspenders that they were actually, in England, they're called braces. For us, braces is something you put on your teeth. And he said, those. He said, you mean you want some braces? He said, well, what would you call them? And the vendor picked up some lacy suspenders of a women's garter belt and said, these are suspenders. And the pastor turned 100 shades of red and said, no, 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 that's not what I want. I want those. And he pointed to the braces. Different words can mean different things in different places. So just a word of caution, boys and girls. Weigh your words. Be careful what you share. Be careful what you say. You want very, very much to be sure that you do your homework, especially if you're going to a foreign country. You never want to say or do anything that might be offensive to somebody. Now, honestly, that man did not mean to say anything or do anything offensively, and that was not his intention. So if you're on the other end of that, boys and girls, where you're hearing somebody say something, ask them what they mean by it so you don't take offense easily, okay? It's twofold. Don't offend, and be careful to listen in case something did offend you. Find out if it was meant to or if it was just a plumb honest mistake. You don't want to go get hit by a lorry now, do you? Hey, go be a blessing to somebody today. Bring a laugh to them if you possibly can. You might end up being the only one who is, and do it without offending. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Jeannie Sigler, Jeannesigler, and hit that subscribe button. And of course, for the best in great programming, great music, great everything. Don't forget WRMZ.org and hit the listen button. Okay, everybody, you be well. Ta-ra for now. That's how they say it in the Midlands. Ta-ra. Another way of saying bye-bye. I'll see you tomorrow.